Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome along to Betfair's preview of round 22 of the NRL as the race to the finals continues. Timmy, I'm getting very excited about the footy, especially after the Tigers got the cash on Monday night in one of the games of the season, and you've got the tip right. You've tipped them. You're a bit nervous there in the second half, though. Yeah,
well, I was nervous in the last minute. What a finish to that game, 19-18. But the way you opened it up there, sounded like you were welcoming everyone to the circus. Welcome, roll up.
Yeah.
Mums
May as
and
well
dads.
be the circus.
Yeah, it is a bit of a circus down here at the
But
duck
you're
pond.
tipping, I've just got to say from the outset, now regular viewers of this segment, there are a lot of you, you are just going brilliantly.
Yeah,
brilliantly.
If you move towards the ones that I get right, I did tip the rabbits, and I thought I had the rabbits there for a while and then fell in the heat, but all these things happen.
Now look, we're going to look at all the games, but I thought we'd start with the race for the 8 here, because Betfair, of course, betting on a whole range of markets, one of them the race for the top 8.
What about Parramatta and the Tigers? Look, they are real smokies here, aren't they? Parramatta play Newcastle with a stack of momentum. The Tigers take on the Roosters with similar momentum. They're both getting their full teams back. Wow.
They've got a couple of teams in reverse there inside the 8. Newcastle and the Bronx. Well, the Bronx are gone. They can't make the 8.
Well, there's all sorts of trouble there, isn't it? And it's obvious.
As far as the prices go at the moment, though, you've got Parramatta at $3.10 just to make the top 8. Lovely odds there on Betfair, I reckon, at the moment. The Broncos out to $3.50. But I've just pretty much dismissed them. But the big mover has been the Tigers in the $2.36 just to finish inside the top 8. So I reckon those last 3 spots there in the finals might be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I wouldn't give Parramatta and the Tigers no chance of maybe sparking an upset in the first week of the finals.
No, not at all. The Tigers appear to me, maybe they don't have the ammo that they had in 2005 when Scott Prince was halfback. But a lot of these young players, like your Ashfords, like your Gallants, are playing really good football. And
Benji.
That coupled with the brilliance of Benji and Robbie Farah, wow, they could do anything.
All right, round 22 coming up. I reckon this is going to be a good game to kick things off as well. Melbourne versus the Cowboys. $1.50 Melbourne, $2.70 the Cowboys. Now, what about my specials? I mean, I'm just going terrible. I said the Titans were unbeatable last week and they got beat.
It's an indication of how good the competition is, I think, and that the salary cap has worked. Well, no, it doesn't really. That's how even teams are. I thought the Cowboys were no hope. I'd been watching them closely the weeks before that, and they weren't good at all. But Thurston and Bowen click. What do they say? Class is permanent, form is temporary, and they upset the apple cart. The graveyard was no longer the graveyard, and the Cowboys won. I don't think they'll do it against Melbourne. I just think that does lightning strike twice, and with Hoffman and these guys back, Blair back on the bench, I just think Melbourne did enough against St George to think that they'll beat the Cowboys.
That was a high quality game of football. I just think that the Storm have got to start winning some games if they're to be a real force this year. Panthers versus St George. Panthers, terrible record against the Dragons recently. $3 the Dragons, $1.40. I think they'll win against St George. Yeah,
what can you say? You'd be a fool to tip against them. They've been in irresistible form. They trailed at half-time against Melbourne and they come back beautifully into that game. Jamie Soward in brilliant form, and the fact that he's there and has not been suspended, I just can't see the Panthers any chance. I know Luke Lewis has been training and likely to play, but yeah.
I think they'll get out the market there too, Ben. If they get better than $3, I reckon, come kick off in that particular game. Good little 5:30 Saturday tussle, this one as well. Manly, who need a win. Obviously, pretty disappointing way to finish against the Tigers, against the Bunnies, who themselves would be ruining missed opportunities last week.
I think it'd be a strange result for Souths to win this game. Funny things happen, but it would be strange because I think they almost played their grand final against the Dogs. They had every chance and didn't quite take the opportunities, and they lost the game. I think their slim hopes are sliding very quickly, and I think Manly will. They had a very, very significant wake-up call against the West Tigers. They came home strong, didn't get the chocolates at home. They'll beat South Sydney in my opinion.
I'll be there as well. Now you've got the Bulldogs against Canberra. The Bulldogs disappointing against the Parramatta outfit, but then of course they've been able to fight back there as well with a good performance at the weekend. And Canberra, 56 Blotsky. 56 blot. Can they do something against the Dogs?
Of course, I think they can.
Do you?
I don't think they will, but I think they can. And obviously David Furner has got his guys, got his team in the thinking of, look, if we're not going to make the 8, let's try and sort of cause some damage in these last few rounds. So they've certainly got the ammo to do it. I don't know whether they'll be good enough for the Dogs, so I've got to tip the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs might put them to the sword this weekend. Now, the out-of-form Warriors against the Titans. The Warriors at the moment, I should say that last game as well, $1.30 the Dogs against Canberra at $4. What's happened there?
Some sort of, just the fauna and flora of the duck pond.
I'm glad it was just flora and fauna. I thought it was something else coming out of the sky there for a moment.
You're right.
The Warriors at $2.50, the Titans at $1.60. The Warriors, I mean, he's made 1,000 changes. Wade McKinnon's missed the recovery session. He's been dumped. How far will they get beaten by?
I don't know. They just do my head in, the Warriors. I'm sure that Ivan Cleary is in a similar position. Sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. Stacey Jones obviously only has a few games left of his career now. You'd be surprised if he'll resurface anywhere else in the world. I don't know. The Gold Coast have got to win it, you'd think, after last week, but toss of a coin. I just don't know.
Matt Rogers comes back into the centres.
Yeah, but it's over there. That's the issue for the Gold Coast.
Mate, they could play it on Pluto and they wouldn't get beaten this weekend, the Titans.
I don't know about that. They do travel like freshies.
Will they win or?
Yeah, I think they'll win.
Right.
I'm not convinced.
That's very good. The Roosters $2.70 against the West Tigers. The mighty Tigers who are flying towards the finals at $1.50. I bought my young boy Sam his first Tigers jumper last night.
Morning, Sam, or afternoon, whenever you want.
It's about 6 sizes too big because they don't miss you with the old rugby league jumpers. But he's officially a Tiger, and I think they can get the money for him this weekend.
And he'll grow into the jersey. I think the Tigers will get the Roosters. I think that was an outstanding performance last week against Newcastle. Brad Fittler obviously has a few points to prove. That was a massive point. Whether or not they can stay up against a fast-finishing West Tigers is the question. I don't think they will. I think it'll be a good, close game, but the Tigers will win.
Well, this is the sort of game the Tigers haven't won in the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
They put 3 good performances together and they'll come up against a team they should beat and get beaten.
Yeah, I just think that they've got that momentum now where they aren't allowing themselves the hiccup. Look, they could be beaten, but in my opinion, I think they'll win.
I think they'll win too. Anthony Minicello's been named at 5'8".
Yeah,
what's your mail there? What's going to happen there?
Well, I've got no mail on it. That's an odd decision, isn't it? Because I don't think he's played that since he was
I think he's ever passed the football.
Maybe since he was a junior. So it'd be interesting to see a running 5'8" role. But the Tigers for me.
All right, Parramatta versus Newcastle. The Eels flying on the back of Jarryd Hayne, who there's rumours circulating he's going to sign with the Western Sydney AFL team. So I wonder if that's got anything to do with the fact that Paul Osborne's called some urgent contract talks with his star player. He won't be going to AFL, surely. Although we said that about Carmichael Hunt. Against Newcastle at $2.60.
Parramatta. Yeah, I think Newcastle, are struggling after the news of Brian Smith's departure. Now, some coaches like Wayne Bennett, they knew he was going a long time. They held it together, maybe because of the fact of who he is, and he'd been there for 23 years. But Newcastle, you can see the splinters, can't you? And I think in any job or sport, if you know the boss isn't going to be hanging around, it's a really dangerous
time. Well, there's
a
suggestion he might get relieved of his duties at a board meeting this week.
Well, that could happen. But I just don't know whether Newcastle have got their heads on or the pumpkins on because of that. They're a great football team. They've shown it all year. But Parramatta, I think, will win this game. You agree with me, or you?
No, I'm with you. Yeah. Now, would you take $1.30 against a Brisbane Broncos team that's been smacked 56-0 against Cronulla at $4 this weekend?
No, I wouldn't. I'd never.
They're skinny odds for a team that's out of form.
I'd never take those sorts of odds because I never place enough on. But they are skinny odds. But they're working on the theory that they've got another couple of players back this week. They've got Peter Wallace back. They've got Kenny back. They've got to win this, don't they? Cronulla weren't good last week. I know they were down on numbers, but they weren't good. And I think Brisbane will scrape home, and it's a big turnaround, I know, from the flogging against Canberra. But I do tip them to get home against the Sharks. Yeah,
I think with the start, the Sharks might be worth having a little bit of something on, but the Broncos, you think, could scrape home at home, which is an important thing. Now, as far as the premiership market goes, the Dragons $3. Gee, they're going to be hard to beat this year. The Bulldogs $5.50, $5.80 Manly. They're out to $17 this year. Unbelievable odds. $7.40 the Storm. Then the Titans at $15, the Cowboys $19. That's how the punters see it at the moment. Then the next best team is $30 for Parramatta. So they've narrowed it down to 6 teams really. I've narrowed it down to 1. Do you think it's slightly more open than that? Well, yeah, grand final day is a different day, and semi-finals are different. I think it's a mouth-watering run into round 26 in the semi-finals. We've got a couple of great months coming. All right, Betfair.com's the place to go. It'll be a mouth-watering weekend to have a bet on the rugby league as well. Thank you. We're back next week. See you then.